Welcome to the Jampack Report today for September 17th of 2023. I'm Jampack Sam, and on today's show we are digging into a massive week in the world of gaming with a PlayStation State of Play, a Nintendo Direct, Mortal Kombat 1 reviews, and Ubisoft sent me over a code of the Crew Motorfest to review and check out. I'm going to be sharing what the critics are saying, and I'll give my thoughts on the game as well so far. It's very big, there's a lot to dig into with that one. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Starting things off, we head to Polygon, where they have two articles digging into everything announced from the PlayStation State of Play and the Nintendo Direct. And we'll start with what PlayStation showed off, because I think there's more to discuss here that could be concerning for some PlayStation fans, depending on what side of the fence you might fall on and what your interests are. But Polygon starts off their coverage with the biggest announcement from the show by far. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth officially has a release date. And I don't know if it's just me, but I did not expect to see a release date quite this soon. That is very impressive. And this game is going to be coming out on February 29th, 2024. As expected, a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and it could be coming to PC a couple of months later. I believe there is the PlayStation 5 exclusivity until May, which does make sense. I would not hold my breath if you're an Xbox fan. I would expect that Sony is probably paying heavily to keep this game locked down on the console side of things. But in addition to the confirmation of the release date, we also got the release date announcement trailer. And no matter if you are a Final Fantasy fan or not, this game looks great. I mean, visually it is striking, it is stunning, and as I mentioned, I'm not a Final Fantasy fan. I didn't grow up playing Final Fantasy VII, so I don't have that same affinity, that same recognition that a lot of other people might have. But even for somebody like me, this is a really, really good looking game, and I think that we all need to take a step back and remember that while this is fan service at its finest, it is Final Fantasy VII being remade for those players that played it back in the day that want to revisit and have that nostalgia moment. This is also bringing the storyline forward to an entire new generation of Final Fantasy fans that might not have been around to play the game back in the day. This is bringing it for them, and it does it very, very well. And so it's good to see this finally get a release date. It's good to see it looking as good as it does. And the real question is, will these games ever come to anything other than PlayStation consoles? Because yes, it is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and they pay handsomely for that, no doubt about it. But I would love to see this come to Xbox for the fans of Final Fantasy that are over on Microsoft's platforms. However, if that's not the case, PlayStation is still a great place to play, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is continuing that story of the Final Fantasy VII Remake that launched a couple of years ago. And again, you are going to be able to play that on February 29th of 2024. Then we get into Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and this was my star of the show. I was very impressed with what was seen here. And if you've been following the shows that I'm on for a while or following the content that I make, I still don't own a PlayStation 5. I don't have as much time as I had the last generation, and right now the Xbox with Game Pass is filling my gaming time with great stories, great games, things that I can always play and come back to, and I'm waiting on that game that is convincing me to go and buy a PlayStation 5, the one that is going to be a system seller for me. And if there's any game that's come out this generation so far that could be that, it looks like it's going to be Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And this trailer showcases not only visually what you're going to be getting from Spider-Man 2, but it also talks about how the power of the PlayStation 5 allows them to push this game further and allows them to expand the New York City they created in the original Marvel Spider-Man that came out back in 2018, I believe. So going on 5 years ago now. But number one, customization. Of course, we all know Spider-Man. We all know the iconic suits that have come through the years. 65 of those, actually I think they said over 65, are going to be included from movies, TV, and original designs from Insomniac Games. But they didn't stop there. There is also a Spider-Man suit customizer where they have different color combinations for each of these suits. And so with those 65 suits and the Spider suit customization, you've got over 200 color options, 200 different customization choices for how you want your Spider-Man to look. That is awesome. I love that kind of thing. And I think we all need to recognize how difficult that might have been to negotiate with the team at Marvel. Because again, Spider-Man is a huge IP and people would love to, I'm sure, see a custom Spidey suit creator. But the fact that there are over 200 combinations that Marvel has signed off on and said, yeah, we can make that happen for this universe, I think that is really, really cool. And then we also get looks at the villains that you're going to be fighting. We get a little bit more Venom here, 19 inches of Venom, as the official PlayStation account said on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. If you missed that, they have the Venom statue for Spider-Man 2. They said you can get 19 inches of Venom. Can I now? Anyways, on top of the customization, we also see looks at how some of these powers are going to be playing into the mix. Fast travel in the game is looking very impressive. You literally open up your map, select a point, and with the web gliders, you just seamlessly transition back into the world. It doesn't have a loading screen at all. And as someone who's playing Starfield, the concept of no loading screens sounds very, very welcoming. You can see it in action right here. But the gameplay they showed off looks great. The visuals of this game look stunning. And the coolest point that I think I saw mentioned on Twitter specifically is that every graphic mode has ray tracing enabled. We're talking about the 30 FPS mode, the 40 FPS mode, and the 60 FPS mode. They all have ray tracing. And I think that speaks to focusing on optimizing your game for one system. Of course, the game will eventually come to PC. They put Marvel Spider-Man Remastered out on PC. It's definitely going to be coming to that platform in the future. But the fact that every console version of the game has ray tracing, that's finally getting to that point where we are hitting what those marketing beats said back whenever these consoles were coming out. You've got great visuals and great fidelity all coming together for Spider-Man 2. And the more that I see about it, the more impressed I am with this game. It looks great. It looks like it plays great. I loved the original Spider-Man. I platinumed that, actually, which it was not a difficult platinum at all. But man, this latest showcase really, really hyped a lot of people up for that game, and I'm very excited to see what the critics have to say as well about Spider-Man 2 and the fans when they finally get their hands on it. Resident Evil 4 Remake got some DLC announcements, Separate Ways, and a Resident Evil 4 VR mode were both shared. The VR mode, I believe, was confirmed a good while back, but we do have that confirmation of additional DLC. They write at Polygon, Capcom's remake of Resident Evil 4 will get the original game Separate Ways add-on on September 21st, alongside an update to Mercenaries mode with playable Ada Wong and Albert Wesker. The promised PlayStation VR 2 support is coming sometime this winter, and you can check that out here. But they also have a quick little teaser of some of what the DLC is going to entail. So if you're a fan of Resident Evil 4, getting that DLC baked in is definitely going to be, a big benefit as well. Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn was also getting an expansion, they say over at Polygon. Bandai Namco's most recent Tales game is getting an expansion, Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn, on November the 9th. Then we saw Helldivers 2, and this is one that I've got some thoughts on. And I shared this on Twitter after the fact as I was kind of thinking about the state of play, mentally preparing for this discussion we're having now. And Helldivers 2 is an exciting game for me just because I'm a fan of third-person shooters. Did not play the original Helldivers, but I know it has a huge, huge cult following that really enjoyed it. This is a very, very different game. In fact, it feels drastically different, to the point that it almost doesn't feel like Helldivers at all. But looking at the gameplay, it looks fun. I'm just trying to figure out why it's not looking as fun as it could be. And to kind of elaborate on that, it looks like Outriders. I mean, when I scroll forward and check out some of the gameplay, they shared this kind of co-op session that clearly the devs are kind of planting these moments to try and show you what it's going to be like to play the game when you get your hands on it. But it looks kind of chaotic. It looks like it's just going to be a co-op shooter and not too much else. I don't know why. I can't really pinpoint the reason, but it's just not really doing it for me. The combat looks kind of clunky. Looks like it relies pretty heavily on co-op here. To at least some degree. You can see where to fire the rocket launcher, two characters have to go up to each other and kind of activate that and continue reloading. Maybe that's just an added benefit. Maybe it could speed up your reloads. That makes sense. I mean, you see some stuff there, but yeah, just not really doing it for me. So we'll see what comes of this one. Helldivers 2, again, one of the bigger AA level PlayStation games coming out in 2024. But the big win is that they did move the release date. This was originally coming out in just a couple of weeks. I believe it was slated for October. And they pushed that out to February 8th, 2024 to give it some room to breathe, just because this game would have been cannibalized by the amount of games that are coming out over the course of the next few weeks. I mean, we just have a packed schedule to the point that it's almost overwhelming. There are too many games coming out in 2023. And so for this to slide in there and slot in for February feels good so far. Again, February, I think, is starting to even get kind of full of new game releases, but this is solidifying its spot as one of the games that will make the list for a lot of people. So good to see, coming to PS5 and Steam once again on February 8th of 2024. Then we got a deeper look at Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and this is still coming out December the 7th, so it is a late year game. But it could be a fun holiday game. I think that this is coming out at a really good time where you're getting away from the big releases of September, October, and November. Now going into the holidays, if people are wrapping up those games they played through the fall, Avatar is going to be one that not only is on the shelves for the holiday season, but that also gives you this kind of open world Far Cry feel. And that's what a lot of people are calling it. I was watching the Kind of Funny Games PlayStation State of Play watch along, and I think somebody said Avatar Cry is the way they described it in the chat, which seems to be pretty accurate. Now, the game itself looks beautiful. I think that graphically, it's going to be difficult to meet that same quality threshold that we see with the Avatar movies, because those movies are themselves visual showcases. But when it comes to what consoles can do, when it comes to what PCs can do, Avatar definitely has the foliage, it's got the graphical fidelity, it's got the juice there. But there are some of those uncanny valley moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is a game. Like right here, as we're jumping down onto this big flying bird thing. I don't know what they're called. Avatar's weird. It looks good, but you can definitely tell it's like a Ubisoft game. That being said, I think there's fun to be had here. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how they bake in that open world Ubisoft template, I guess, and bake that into the world of Avatar and see if those two things mesh together, because I very much so think they could. And ironically, the most fun part of these trailers is the combat itself, which is a really, really good sign. I'm looking forward to checking this out, and I might even dive in on day one. We'll see. Maybe Ubisoft will give me a code for the game for review. I would love to check that out because I am a fan of Avatar, but a casual fan. I am a fan of Ubisoft games and a pretty hardcore fan. I love Far Cry, and I love the worlds they create there. So I think that technology applied to Avatar could be really, really neat. But we'll see how the game lands in a couple of months. I'm personally glad to see it still coming out this year. And I think that, once again, it as a holiday release, you know, as families, as grandma is going through the video game aisle at Walmart and she sees Avatar, this is a bigger IP than I think a lot of people realize, and Frontiers of Pandora is definitely going to be capitalizing on that. So let me know what you think about Avatar down below. I would love to know your thoughts on that one. Then we have Baby Steps. This is a new game from Devolver Digital and Bennett Foddy, the creator of Getting Over It. And this is one of those games that is meant to be frustrating. We saw this one a couple of months ago, I think at a previous PlayStation event it was shown off. But effectively you play as Nate, and he's this guy that lives in his parents' basement, and one day he's forced to go out and start living his own life, putting one foot in front of the other, and again, taking baby steps to try and move, I guess, just get started with things. And so got a little bit of QWOP DNA in there. If you guys haven't played QWOP, it was one of the Adobe Flash games that was really popular when I was in middle school and high school. But you just control the feet of this runner and you try and hit your stride. You know, you try and figure out how feet work, how your joints work. And I think that's what this game is trying to portray here, where you are going to be falling a lot. You're this big 30-year-old something dude in a onesie that's just trying to put one foot in front of the other. And it is absolutely going to be hilarious. But this gameplay is literally what you're going to be seeing. And I guarantee you, a ton of streamers are going to be playing this one. A ton, because it is just entertaining. It is good fun. It is hilarious. I'm looking forward to seeing what this game has to offer, but it is going to be coming in 2024. And again, this is not a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but it is going to be playable on PlayStation 5. Honkai Star Rail release date on PlayStation 5 was announced, coming out on October the 11th. Foam Stars is getting an open beta. This is the game that is definitely not Splatoon and completely original, but you can check that out from September 29th to October the 1st for PlayStation 5 players in North America. We got some new PlayStation 5 and DualSense colors as well with the Deep Earth collection. We have the Volcanic Red, Cobalt Blue, and Sterling Silver, and those were your biggest announcements from the show. I will say that the Cobalt Blue and the Volcanic Red and the Deep Silver, those are some really, really good colors here if you did want to pick up a PlayStation 5 after watching all of what they had to offer. But what I wanted to bring up after we walked through everything that was shown off during the show is that there is still so much we don't know about what's going on at PlayStation. And looking at PlayStation's DNA, the reputation they've built up over the course of the last decade, not a ton of that is present right now. And that could be a bit concerning for fans. I think that 2024 has to be the year that we start hearing what is coming. What games are we going to be able to play on this system? Because right now, we don't have that kind of PlayStation DNA baked into the releases that we have on the roster. In fact, I threw up a poll on my YouTube channel saying, what PlayStation game are you looking forward to the most? Drop your pick in the comments if you don't see it on the list. And I had to go through and I was like, all right, what first-party PlayStation games are coming? Like, literally, what do they have on the way? And we have Marvel Spider-Man 2, which is coming out here in a couple of weeks. Then we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which isn't necessarily even a first-party game. Now that I think about it, probably shouldn't have put this on the list, but it is still a PlayStation game that is exclusive to the console. Then we have Death Stranding 2, which is the most concrete thing, and then The Last of Us Factions, which TBD, if that's even still a thing, it came in second. But after Spider-Man 2, there just isn't a lot that we know about. I mean, obviously, Bend is working on stuff. They've got tons of different first parties working on stuff, but we've got to know what's coming. We really need something that's beyond Marathon from Bungie that's also going to be multi-platform. There are people out there that need to know why they bought a PlayStation 5. And we were saying the same things about Xbox a couple of years ago. I need to know what you have coming. So my hope for PlayStation in 2024 is that they do take that initiative and they say, all right, we've been quiet. Here's what we've been cooking. We have Infamous Remastered, or, whatever the cool thing is. Not to say that they need to stick to their roots and that they need to stick to these franchises they've been pumping out for years, but they need to put out something that feels a little bit innovative right now. And I think that now that we've gotten God of War Ragnarok out of the way, now that Spider-Man 2 is on the way, now that Horizon is come and gone, this is the time where we've got to say, all right, what's the last half of this generation look like? And for the State of Play to roll out and have Foam Stars, Honkai Star Rail, Baby Steps, Avatar, Helldivers, Tales of Arise, these are the highlights that we're talking about. Beyond Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Marvel Spider-Man 2, what's the big broad appeal thing? What are they really going to be focusing on come 2024, 2025? Time will tell. We'll see what they have in store. But if you want to, head over there on my YouTube channel, check out that poll, drop your thoughts. I would love to know what you guys think about the PlayStation strategy, where they're going, how the vibe is with PlayStation right now, because things aren't where they were for the PlayStation 4 generation, in my humble opinion. Now, moving over to the other story from Polygon, we have a recap of the Nintendo Direct. And I've just got to say, I've heard a lot of podcasts talk about this. I've seen a lot of sentiments like this on Twitter. Nintendo is entering their retirement phase of the Nintendo Switch. This is the golden hour. This is where the sun is setting. They're pumping out some pretty cool projects that are more love letters to fans than they are trying to build up the Nintendo Switch user base, because it's already been built up, and then they're getting ready for what's next. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Nintendo Switch successor announced towards the start of the year, maybe sometime in Q1, aiming for a fall release. Time will tell. Could come out even sooner than that, as we talked about on last week's show. But Polygon has their article, all of the biggest announcements from September's Nintendo Direct, starting off with Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door coming to the Nintendo Switch, getting a fresh coat of paint, and looking very good doing it. This is one of those kind of, I wouldn't say hidden gems, but it's not a mainline Mario franchise or game, but it is one that people have loved for a long time. They write, Paper Mario's classic GameCube role-playing game is heading to Nintendo Switch with enhanced HD graphics. When? Just sometime in 2024, Nintendo said. And so, looks beautiful. Love to see this kind of thing happening. And the more remasters of older GameCube games we can get, the better off we're going to be, because that era is so lost because so many people might not have had access to a GameCube back then. So bringing that forward to the Switch or whatever is beyond is always going to get a check of approval from me. Then we have a new entry in the long-running Mario vs. Donkey Kong series of puzzle platforming games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is back, and this game has no right to look visually as good as it does. It is a Mario game, but if you're a fan of the puzzle kind of stuff, if you're a fan of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, it is going to be more of that. And that's kind of what they're doing in general with a lot of these Mario games that are shown off during this show. If you're a fan of Mario, you're going to get more of whatever's being discussed here. If you're a fan of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, more of that. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, more of that. If you like it. I think it's kind of the kind of thing that they're talking about here. Then Splatoon 3's Side Order Expansion Pass is officially confirmed. They do not have the video linked here on Polygon, and I did not go to find it on YouTube, but it is a DLC that promises a brand new story as players ascend the Spire of Order in an endlessly replayable experience. A little bit of roguelike coming into the Splatoon 3 experience, coming in spring 2024. Then we saw a deeper look at Super Mario RPG. A new trailer came out for it. This is a remake of Square's beloved role-playing game with a few new tweaks, including updated action commands to unleash all new triple moves when it comes to Switch on November the 17th. Another Code Recollection is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and Wii sequel Another Code R, A Journey into Lost Memories as well. Collection drops January 19th, 2024. Princess Peach Showtime also got a trailer. This is a new game starring Princess Peach. Not my kind of thing once again, but hey, Nintendo is gonna Nintendo, and they say a night at the theater goes south when Grape and the Sour Bunch take over the Sparkle Theater, forcing Princess Peach and the theater's guardian Stella to save the day in Princess Peach Showtime. It's not for me. And again, I'm a 26-year-old dude that's wearing a Halo shirt. This isn't meant to be for me, but what I do want to say is that for, a 10 to 12-year-old girl that has a Nintendo Switch, or guy, whatever if a kid is into this, this is going to be their favorite game. I love to see this kind of thing because it branches out of just Mario typical stuff. This is a Princess Peach game that stars Princess Peach and has a different flair to it. That's going to appeal to a different kind of audience, and Nintendo needs to appeal to more people. Not to say that they don't already appeal to a mass audience of people, but nonetheless, Peach is going to be spreading that around a little bit more, and it comes out on March 22nd of 2024. Detective Pikachu returns. Tough Talking Pikachu and his pal Tim Goodman are back for a new adventure where they're looking for answers to a jewel heist, what happened to Tim's dad, and strange Pokemon-related incidents throughout Rhyme City. Detective Pikachu, much like the Princess Peach game, is not for everybody. This is by no means a Pokemon game, but it is a Detective Pikachu game indeed. So if you want more of that, then by all means, check that out when it launches on October the 6th. Was that planned? Did we have that announcement ahead of time? Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is on the way. This is a well-received entry in the Luigi's Mansion franchise, and we got a bit of a trailer. Much like the other Mario games, it is indeed more Luigi's Mansion. And if you played Luigi's Mansion 2 back in the day, this was a GameCube game. Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon, or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, is coming to Nintendo Switch in 2024 with co-op for up to 4 players. Now, this is one that got me really excited, and I saw this kind of get mixed reception online. F-Zero 99. This is one of the 99 games, much like Tetris 99, or I believe it was Super Mario 99, but this is where 99 racers are going head-to-head, and it is free for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. That's kind of the point. It's one of those games, much like a lot of Game Pass games, that are included to drive activity on the service and to get more people playing these games. And so the final remnant of this 99 bunch is going to be the winner, and it is just pure chaos. The more you bump into the walls, the fewer health bars you get, I suppose, and then once you hit the 0, you're out for the running. You no longer are able to race. So cool to see this kind of thing being experimented with. I know a ton of people would rather have a real F-Zero game or some kind of remaster. Personally, I would rather have this, and I don't currently subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online. I played a ton of Tetris 99, very fun game, but these are nice little added perks. Again, it's basically a free-to-play game for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, and so between the Mario game, the Tetris game, and the F-Zero game, they've definitely done a lot of cool stuff with this little sub-franchise that's been created through the years. So F-Zero 99, good surprise from the show. New trailer for WarioWare Move It, which is coming November the 3rd, also got shown off. And the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course DLC is also getting a new trailer. The 6th and final piece of Nintendo's grand DLC plan for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe arrives this holiday, bringing new courses, including Daisy Circuit from Mario Kart Wii and 4 new racers, Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Paulina, and Peachette, to the best-selling kart racer. Mario Kart 8 just continues to print money. It is just the never-ending kart racing game that Nintendo continues to put out new content for. And let's be real, they've done a really good job with extending the longevity of this game, because if I'm not mistaken, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was the Wii U game, right? Let me Google that. I was right, Mario Kart 8 was a Wii U game that was brought forward to the Nintendo Switch, and they brought it forward very well, and they've added a ton of content to it, and it's content that fans want. I mean, these are classic experiences that people might have had on GameCube or Wii, or even in Mario Kart Tour here on the mobile platforms a couple of years ago, but they're continuing to bring new experiences in for that main demographic of Mario Kart fans, which is something that's really cool to see, and it's not that expensive either. I think it's like $25 for all waves of this DLC, so not too shabby there overall. Then Spy Cross Anna, I don't know what this is. Operation Memories was announced. Saga Emerald Beyond was also announced, coming to Nintendo Switch in 2024. Unicorn Overlord, Atlas and Vanillaware, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, and Odin Sphere are teaming up for a new fantasy tactical adventure that promises overworld exploration and an innovative battle system. And Unicorn Overlord coming to Switch on March 8th of 2024. If you are an Atlas fan, this obviously piqued your interest. If you are a Vanillaware fan, this obviously piqued your interest. Those two teams teaming up, this is what you're going to be getting. Not my kind of game, let me tell you, but it is going to be one that a ton of people do enjoy, and it's got a cool visual style as well. Contra Operation Galuga. This is coming to a ton of different platforms. It's going to be available everywhere. But after a lackluster Contra a couple of years ago, this Contra game looks like it's getting back to the roots of what Contra was and really is at its core. And that's something that's exciting to me. They write at Polygon, Konami and developer Way Forward bring back the original Contra to Nintendo Switch as Contra Operation Galuga, a thorough reimagining of the classic run-and-gun action game. The new Contra is coming to Switch in early 2024 alongside other platforms as well. But this is what I want. This Metal Slug kind of classic Contra feel. This is the content. Now, visually, there's room for improvement here. Doesn't have quite the detail that I would want. Kind of almost looks like a Donkey Kong game when you look at the backgrounds and things like that. But if it plays well, I am a happy camper. Time will tell. It's just difficult whenever so many of the Contra games and so many of these, like I said, Metal Slug games, which I kind of loop those together, they are available on modern platforms. You can play those old school games and they play really, really well. So it's almost like a Metroid Dread situation where there was an obligation for Nintendo to make a really, really good feeling Metroid game when they were putting out Dread because of the availability of these classic Metroid games. And so I hope the same level of detail is brought with Konami and Way Forward with Contra Operation Galuga. Trombone Champ is coming to the Nintendo Switch. No sad trombone noises here because Trombone Champ is out today, and this is that game where people are just playing the trombone on the Nintendo Switch, and I believe it was on PC as well. That's where it first came out, but a fun little way to kill a couple of minutes here. Then classic Tomb Raider games are getting remastered, and Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 remastered. This is also coming to other platforms too, but they launch on February 14th, 2024, and do not get your hopes up, my friends. This is not a full remake. This is not a full remaster. This is just bringing these games forward, really, for a new generation of consoles. And so, cool to see the Nintendo Switch getting some love. Don't know how much this is going to do for modern players on like PS5 and Xbox Series X, but to see these games kept, to see them kind of given a little bit of love and care, a little bit of TLC, glad to see that happen as well. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown got a new trailer as well ahead of its launch on January 18th, 2024. This is a return to that side-scrolling Prince of Persia action. We saw this shown off during Ubisoft's summer presentation. And if you're a fan of platforming, it looks like a really, really, really good time. I do hope to dive into this one as well. It looks like it's going to be something that kind of piques my interest. I remember playing Shadow Complex a couple of years ago, and this has that same kind of vibe. If you've played any platformer in the past 5 years, 10 years, this is going to be doing some of that, but it's also got a little bit of stylistic nature to it here that doesn't just make it a side-scrolling game. We'll see how fans react to it when it launches early next year, but some cool stuff being done there. I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed with Prince of Persia. Horizon Chase 2, if you haven't played Horizon Chase Turbo, you need to check that out, but it is out now on the Nintendo Switch, and if you're a fan of the Outrun games from way back in the day in arcades, this is going to be kind of capturing that. Gotta say, this isn't quite what I would want for Horizon. I liked the style of the original Horizon Chase Turbo, but this adds a little bit more realism to it. Just kind of looks like a mobile game to me, but if you do want to check it out, it is out right now on the Nintendo Switch. And that's your Nintendo Direct recap as well. Again, like I said, this is the swan song of the Nintendo Switch. You've got some Mario games that are kind of experimental in nature, might be bringing back some classic experiences with Super Mario RPG, but overall, impressive show over the grand scheme of things. And in 2024, we are going to be hearing more about the Nintendo Switch successor, what games are going to be launching for that. If that launches in the fall of next year, we're going to be getting an entire roster of new games coming alongside that. So if you're concerned about Nintendo's 2024 lineup, you don't need to be. They've got plenty on the way. But PlayStation, on the other hand, a little bit concerned. Next up, we have some reviews to dive into, starting with Mortal Kombat 1. The game launches in full on September 19th, but early access players are already diving in, going head-to-head with the early access in the premium edition of the game and the collector's edition, which includes the premium edition. But critics are sharing their thoughts, and it's getting some pretty good marks across the board. It's got a mighty open critic rating with a top critic average of 86, and 100% of critics recommend playing the game. Now, digging into what they have to say, Game Central says 8 out of 10. The story campaign and arguably the fighting are the best they've ever been for Mortal Kombat, although there's currently a lack of other modes and Invasion is a disappointment. Brian Shea, a Game Informer, says 9 out of 10. When the first Mortal Kombat debuted more than 30 years ago, the series quickly became known for its trademark blood, gore, and violence. While that is still at the forefront thanks to Mortal Kombat 1's fatal blows, brutalities, and of course fatalities, the longer the series has gone on, the longer it has rightfully become just as known for its genre-leading approach to single-player content and incredibly tight fighting mechanics. In making strides in both areas, Mortal Kombat 1 moves the series forward to continue what's already been a terrific year for the genre. And it has been a phenomenal year for fighting games, especially looking at Street Fighter VI. Then the Sixth Axis writes 8 out of 10. Mortal Kombat 1 serves as a love letter to fans of this 31-year-old franchise, and as a pseudo-reboot, it also has potential appeal to newcomers alike. There's still room to grow, and I'm sure it will just keep getting better, but Mortal Kombat 1 is already definitely worth your time. And that's the general consensus among critics, is that there is some criticism with the story mode itself. Could be potentially polished up a little bit more there as the narrative goes, but it also has some issues when it comes to variety of gameplay modes. Variety of customization is something I've seen complaints about. And I think when you take a step back, these are critic reviews, not necessarily Mortal Kombat hardcore fan reviews. Just keep that in mind as we're reading through these, because I've got friends that are hardcore Mortal Kombat fans, and they're diving into this game and they're loving it, because I think you've got iconic characters that are true to who the character is, you've got a narrative that moves the franchise forward, and you've got tight, gory fighting mechanics. That's a Mortal Kombat game. That's a good Mortal Kombat game. And then you've got the little fan service things like Jean-Claude Van Damme coming back into the game, various different fatalities, brutalities, all of these things that are baked in. This is a great Mortal Kombat game from what I'm hearing. Now, I'm not going to be diving in myself because I am not good at fighting games in general. I am definitely going to be watching it though. Now, I would love to know if you are going to be checking this one out when it officially launches on September the 19th, or if you've already gone in and started checking it out for yourself, like I have with the Crew Motorfest. Now, once again, thanks to Ubisoft for sending me over a code for review. I've been playing the game a good bit. I've got to be honest with you, I have been super busy this week with work and life, lots of trips and things like that, but I have had the chance to dive into about 6 hours of the game so far, and I'm loving my time with it. But the critics are also not quite as hot on it as I might be. It's got a strong open critic rating right now with a top critic average of 78. 73% of critics recommend playing the game. IGN gives it a 7 out of 10. God is a Geek gives it an 8.5 out of 10. Game Pro with an 84 out of 100. And we have more critic reviews here. Luke Riley, once again at IGN, gives it a 7 out of 10, saying, "The Crew Motorfest is a robust racer with a confident sense of style, but its smaller map lacks life, its multiplayer isn't really worth the wait, and its omnipresent microtransaction opportunities are still tedious." And then we have Ainsley Bowden at Season Gaming, friend of the show, who writes 8.5 out of 10. With Motorfest, Ubisoft Ivory Tower takes the crew to the next level. With a beautiful playground and countless ways to interact with it, Motorfest is some of the most fun you can have behind a wheel. And this is the review that I align most closely with, because what Ubisoft has been able to effectively do with the Crew Motorfest is elevate the Crew as a franchise to the point that it is comparable to Forza Horizon 5, and in some ways better. You've got more vehicle variety here with planes and boats, ATVs and dirt bikes are also incorporated into the game. It doesn't just feel like a car game, but it is a car game at its core, and it is a very good car game at its core. It feels a little bit more arcadey than something like a Forza Horizon 5. It doesn't quite have that old school Burnout or Need for Speed feel where it is over-exaggerated, but drifting is a little bit easier, feels a little bit more welcoming. The fun factor is clearly the focus here, and it also really throws itself into the personality of this Hawaiian venue they've chosen here. It definitely feels like it's got that same riding style as Forza Horizon 5, but the visuals in it are striking. I mean, there are some moments where you're in these games, you're in these races, and you just really have to stop and take in the scenery. It is a very good looking game. And the plane flight style of controlling isn't great. It's fine. It's good. I enjoy it. It's gets the job done. Boats are kind of the same way. The cars are clearly what shine within this game. And you've got plenty of options, plenty of different playlists with different feels for the races themselves. And I've got more thoughts that I'll share as time goes on. Maybe I'll even make a full review video here in a week or two. But again, thank you to Ubisoft for sending me over the game. I am really, really enjoying my time with it. And if you're looking for something to scratch that Forza Horizon itch, if you might have finished all the DLC with that, or you just want something new from Ubisoft to see what the Crew is doing these days, you've got lots to do within the Crew Motorfest. So let me know if you're going to dive in and check it out. But it is absolutely going to be one of the best arcade racing games of the year. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you're new here and you enjoy what you see or what you hear, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, add the show to your podcast feed, and if you really enjoy it, leave me a rating on your platform of choice. That helps spread the channel and helps spread the word about what we're talking about here. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. I'll talk to you soon, and as always, keep on playing.